Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Miguel back again with another video, and today I have another Tecno phone with me, this time the Tecno Camon 30 Premier Pro 5G. So this is the top of the line of the Camon series. The Camon 30 comes with the regular Camon 30 4G, the 5G edition, the Pro, and then the Premier, which is the one that I have in my hands. And this is sort of like an upper mid-range phone, but it actually is classified as an all-rounder phone. And if I was to describe this in better words, then this is sort of like a jack of all trades. So we have 512 gigs of internal storage, as we can see over here. We also have 24 gigs of RAM. It's not exactly 24, it's 12 gigs, but it can also use 12 gigs as an extended option if it's needed virtually. And you also have an interesting detail over here, which is the Sony IMX890 sensor. The color that we have today is the snowy silver color. So let's go ahead and see what we have. We have MediaTek's Dimensity 8200 chip. This is a pretty decent chip. We also have a 1.5K LTPO AMOLED display. This is a bit of an upgrade from the Camon 30 Pro as well. You have a 70 watt ultra fast charger, and you also have Corning Gorilla Glass, but this is Gorilla Glass 5. It's not Gorilla Glass Victus. It's not the latest, but nevertheless you are getting some sort of protection. So looking into the rest of the details in the box, we have, looks like a case. Obviously it's a case. So we have the hard case, and this it's a very interesting one, kind of matches the color contrasts a little bit. And you also have your screen protector, which is something that Tecno almost always includes. And then over here you have your 12 plus 1 month of warranty. 13 months is pretty much a standard for Tecno. Over here you also have your 70 watt charger that comes out of the box. You also have your SIM pin, and you also have your USB-A to USB-C charger. Now looking at the phone, we have the phone today in the snowy white color, and design-wise it's pretty interesting. So first of all, this is sort of like a square edge design. It fits pretty good in the hands, and it's a little bit soft on the edges, so it doesn't hurt your hands like a lot of other phones do. You can see that you have Dolby Atmos here, so this is part of Dolby Atmos. You have dual speakers over here. You also have an IR blaster on top. You have your power button. You have another set of speakers over here, your USB-C port, your SIM tray, and this does not support a external memory card. On this side you have your volume rockers, and this actually is made up of aluminum. So you have aluminum sides over here, which is pretty good to see. You are getting that premium protection when it comes to the phone with the Gorilla Glass 5 in the front, and also a aluminum frame. On the back you have this sort of leather feeling on the back, and from what I read is that Tecno, it was inspired by the texture of a lotus leaf, and that's what this is kind of textured after. It's a little bit slippery, so it's not grippy like usually leather is. And you also have a little bit of a tapered design over here, which is interesting. You have your flash over here. You also have this little red dot lighting over here, which kind of shows you when you're recording or when you're using your infrared remote, so it kind of lights up to show you that it's on. And you also have your triple camera setup. Although it looks like it's a quad camera setup, it's actually not. It kind of acts as a quad camera setup, and I'll get to that in a little bit, but it actually has a triple camera setup, and all of the cameras have a 50 megapixel setup, including the front camera, which is pretty impressive. You also get IP54 dust and water resistance, and that's kind of like a little bit of a disappointing part, because you have protection everywhere on the phone except when it comes to water resistance. So it is, you can say, sweat proof if you want to call it that, but you're not able to dunk this in water for 30 minutes like IP68, so you have to be very careful. If it's raining, then yeah, it's not really gonna damage it in any case, but if you drop it in water, then that's pretty much it. You're gonna be done after that. The back camera also has that kind of fancy bezel, sort of like a Rolex design ring when it comes to it, and according to Tecno, this is not just a design, this is used for heat dissipation. I don't get how. I don't really, there was no explanation onto how that works. When it comes to the display, this is the best display that you can get in the Camon series. So the Camon 30 Premier comes with a 1.5K AMOLED display, which also has 120 Hz refresh rate. It is adaptable, which means that it can go down to 30 FPS, 60 FPS, 90 and 120. All the Camons, including the Camon 30 Pro, only have a 1080p full HD resolution display. So this is a bit of an upgrade, and you can actually tell there's a vivid difference in it. And I really like the way that the display it looks, because it has a very contrasty vibe to it. It's very clear colors, and this also goes up to 1400 nits of peak brightness. If we talk about performance, then this comes with MediaTek's Dimensity 8200 chip, and because it is a better chip, then you also get a little bit of a better performance. So on Antutu V10, this gave us about 908,000 points, very close to 1 million. This is right up there with a lot of other mid-range phones. So performance-wise, you are going to be able to play pretty much any type of game that you want without having to face any issues. Now, when it comes to the cameras, this has a triple camera setup, but it acts as a quad camera setup. Tecno advertises this as a quad camera setup, and that's because the ultra wide lens can also double up as a macro lens. So you kind of have two cameras in one. Apart from your 50 megapixel camera, which is the main lens, you also have a periscope telephoto lens, which is also consistent of a 50 megapixel sensor. Although it uses a Samsung sensor, there's only one which uses the IMX-A90 sensor, which is the main 50 megapixel, and then the other 50 megapixel camera, which is the ultra wide, and the macro is also the same Samsung JN1 ISO cell sensor. It has 114 degrees field of view, and when it comes to the macro, it can zoom up to where you can be very close to the object, up to 2.5 centimeters of closeness is what I've read on these. This also uses a dual chip processing, which means that it uses obviously the MediaTek's Dimensity chip, but it also uses a separate dedicated Sony sensor or a chip which is used for image processing. So this has a dedicated Sony image processing chip. The main camera has an aperture of f1.88, which means that it pretty much opens very wide and it allows a lot of light in. So because of that, it is a pretty good camera when it comes to low light and night photography. And when it comes to the periscope camera, it has a 70mm focal length with 3 times optical zoom. So it gives you that natural bokeh effect, and they're all integrated with optical image stabilization to make sure that you're not getting any sort of shaky video. One very impressive thing about the camera is actually the front camera, which has also a 50 megapixel setup, but this is not any regular 50 megapixel camera. This has actually autofocus on the front 50 megapixel camera, and because of that, you're also able to use eye tracking, and you can use this for vlogs as well. And the impressive part about the front camera, alongside the back cameras, which are all able to shoot in 4K resolution, is that the front camera can also do the same. So yes, the front camera is also able to shoot in 4K resolution, which is pretty impressive. The only thing that I don't like, which is something that I've provided my feedback, is that it automatically has sort of like that beautify soft effect, which I don't like at all. But apart from that, colors are pretty good, image is pretty good. You also have a little bit of a stabilization effect, and you also get a little bit of a background blur. Battery wise, this has a 5000 milliampere battery, and on a test this was able to give us around 13.5 hours of endurance. And with the 70-watt charger that comes in the box, it charges from 0 to 50% in around 16 minutes, and then 0 to 100% in just around 50 minutes. So it kind of slows down once it is past that 50%, and I think that's good because it kind of helps in preserving the battery. So battery wise is pretty good, and then you obviously get the 70-watt charger, which can charge your battery from 0 to 100% in less than 1 hour. Now, when it comes to the pricing, this will cost you just around the $500 mark. Around 450 euros is what this is going to cost. Now, depending on region and country, you may or may not be able to get your hands on this. And if we convert this into dirhams, then that's just around the 2,000 dirham mark. So 1,800, 1,900, 2,000 dirhams, depending on the specs that you go with. But I think for this price, this is a pretty good, because you are getting an aluminum frame, you are getting Gorilla Glass on the front, you're getting a leather back. So it ticks all the boxes. And as I mentioned, this is an all-rounder. This is a sort of like a jack of all trades phone, which has a great camera system, it has a great battery, has great performance. I honestly have no complaints, apart from just the factor that this has IP54 dust and water resistance. That's the only negative thing that I see in here. But if you can get past that, then this is a really good phone to consider. Those are my thoughts on the Camon 30 Premier 5G. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.